guess who's knocking it out of the— shut the fuck up, knocking it out of the park again in terms of stellar hand-drawn animation and storytelling, the French. It's kinda ridiculous, honestly. France is the hub world for some of the best animation artists on the planet, and subsequently, they're making some of the best animated films I've ever seen. And April and the Extraordinary World is one of the best movie titles I've heard in quite some time. I mean, its original title is April and the Twisted World, which, yeah, narratively speaking, makes more sense, but I like Extraordinary better. And trust me, the movie delivers on that extraordinary world. This is one of the most engaging, uplifting, and exciting narratives with some of the most charming and likable characters to ever grace the screen, with an optimistic and nuanced message about humanity at its core. It premiered in 2015, and while it certainly earned all the praise and notoriety it deserved, it, along with many other French masterpieces, has faded into obscurity, which is especially unfortunate because this movie really does have all the makings of a solid summer blockbuster. It's got high-flying adventure, silly cartoon shenanigans, and some very effective character writing and conflict. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to share it with you. So normally I'd give you a brief synopsis of the film, but here all I have to do is recap the prologue. First off, holy shit, this title credit sequence. This is amazing. It's like a friggin' I Spy book. These 3 minutes alone are crammed with immaculate details and extremely appealing 19th century aesthetics. It sets the tone brilliantly. In the 1870s, on the eve of the Franco-Prussian War, French Emperor Napoleon III, accompanied by his escorts, visits the lab of Gustav Franklin to assess his project of breeding invulnerable super soldiers. The Emperor is disgusted with the results of Gustav, which are 2 talking lizards ill-fit for war. He orders his associates to shoot them, but the creatures escape and the Emperor instead causes an explosion that kills all 4 men. Oh geez. Oh, darn it. That's unfortunate. So, with good old Napoleon Bonaparte getting murked within the first 2 minutes, his brother inherits the throne and then negotiates a settlement with Prussia to avert the war, thus securing the throne to the House of Bonaparte for generations to come. And over the course of 60 years, renowned scientists and other brilliant minds mysteriously disappear. As a result, technological developments have been based on coal and wood burning, ushering in an age of steampunk and setting back humanity a whole century in technology. So as you can see, the film is set in an alternate timeline of Earth, and can I just say how much fun this concept is? Exploring a bizarro history is a writing style I very much enjoy, personally. These 2 Tarantino films, Watchmen and X-Men First Class, are all films that have great fun with the alternate series of events that would unfold in a natural, emotionally and intellectually satisfying way. Unlike this crap-ass Saturday morning nothing burger. Fucking Marvel. And while April's narrative is a lot more cartoonish and outlandish in nature, it still delivers wonderfully consistent character and story writing throughout. Anyway, by 1931, Europe has been completely overhauled with machinery, and the air has become so badly polluted and soot-filled that people need to wear masks to be outside. That's a little too close for comfort. The French Empire now plans war for Canada's vast forests, and orders all remaining scientists to work for the Empire in a desperate attempt to modernize its weapons. Meanwhile, an overly dedicated and obsessed inspector sent by the Empire pursues the Franklin family of chemists in Paris. Seriously though, this guy makes Javert look like a slacker. It's ridiculous. Gustave's son, Pops, grandson Paul, granddaughter-in-law Annette, and great-granddaughter April, and her talking cat Darwin. That's not a spoiler, by the way. The animals can talk fuck with the serum in this universe, have continued to work on said serum for everlasting life, in hopes of improving the world's health. So yeah, this movie has got quite the lore behind it, and the story from there unravels with very dramatic as well as humorous plot turns. The world may seem grey, dismal, and dull, and trust me, the characters are by no means thriving, but the design and layout create a wonderful blend of the steampunk aesthetic, Indiana Jones-style adventure, and cartoony science fiction. This bizarro universe, despite the cold and punishing conditions, is inspiringly creative with endless amounts of thought, care, and detail put into the ergonomics and mechanics of each structure. And to say anything else about it would spoil the experience of this very warped and very fun narrative. So I'll just cut to the chase and talk about what I love most about this movie, April herself. April Franklin is a superb protagonist, and she could easily rank up there with some of the best written animated film protags like Nausicaa, Jim Hawkins and John Silver, Katie and Rick Mitchell, Mike Wazowski. April's character writing is refreshingly mature, multifaceted, and wholesome. Her arc centers around finding her parents she's been separated from since she was a preteen, as well as trying to develop the ultimate immunity serum that her family line has worked on perfecting for generations, and the one her great-grandfather failed to get right. April's family lineage is one of scientists and chemists, so she imposes a lot of pressure on herself to live up to that past greatness, and since she's one of the few brilliant minds left that hasn't been exploited for labor by Napoleon's heir, that just adds to the pressure to save and preserve her family's legacy. And when she can't, she is excessively hard on herself and her work. She places great value in her family ties, and she shares their passion for human innovation, but because she's been socially isolated for so long in a steampunk dictatorship, she's very suspicious and careful about who she associates with, and doesn't tolerate any brute opposition or nonsense that stands in the way of her goals. But as the film progresses, she becomes more trusting of people and learns to give individuals the benefit of the doubt. She starts off seeing the world in a very black and white way. Scientists are good, government is bad. But through the various twists and turns of the narrative, she gains a more nuanced perspective that allows her to place faith in people she never would have before, and subsequently questions the values of the people she loves. But even with the character growth, she doesn't compromise her no-nonsense and firm attitude with people, even her own family members. She is strict with her boundaries and priorities, and as such, commands respect from not only the characters, but the audience too. She may not be the most intricate or god-tier protagonist of all time, but she is a lovable, charming, and daring main character that keeps you hooked on the story until the end credits. Also, it's worth noting that Marion Cotillard and Angela Gulupo are absolutely fantastic as both the English and French voices for April. And for that matter, the English dub is actually pretty damn good. I do recommend the French version, of course, but the dub doesn't subtract anything from the movie. It features great work from Tony Hale, J.K. Simmons, and Susan Sarandon, and you can tell they're having a really fun time with their roles. But anyway, yeah, that's that for that. In regards to the inception of this film, it was inspired by the political French graphic novelist Jacques Tardy. That's a French name, YouTube, okay? That's not derogatory. He made novels such as Adele and the Beast, The Bloody Streets of Paris, It Was the War of the Trenches, and God damn this war. The film itself was made by Studio Je Suis Bien Content, who also made Persepolis, which I should also review sometime. Of how the project began, co-writer and co-director Frank Akinci said in an interview, "I met with Benjamin Legrand, who was Tardy's screenwriter for the graphic novel Tour de Cafards. It was Benjamin who organized my first meeting with Tardy, and who had the idea for this story about kidnapping the world's greatest intellectuals, which leads to a huge technological delay, turning the history of the world on its head." Co-director Christian Desmares commented, What I liked immediately is the Jules Verne-style universe, a retro-futurist adventure in a world of iron and steam. The themes that are dealt with are interesting. The race towards progress, science without conscience, is nothing but the ruin of the soul. The characters are neither completely good nor completely bad. It's more subtle than that, and Tardy's mockery of society was retained. Everything the protagonists attempt to do fails. One of the strengths of the screenplay is that it's difficult to predict what's going to happen, which is a sentiment I will explore in the... Okay, before I get into the stuff about the themes and the message of the film, I gotta talk about one of my favorite scenes first. When April is reunited with her grandpa Pops at his secluded home in an old warehouse. It's a wonderfully touching scene as he tries his best to accommodate his long-lost granddaughter. And it's punctuated with this amazing shot of different-sized pink dresses he bought for her each year she was missing. It's one of my favorite visuals from the film, and it's one of the most simple. But then, when the French police apprehend Pops and track down April, Darwin activates the Meta House, where Pops' abode is revealed to be a fucking mechanical walking submarine. God damn, this movie is just so much fun! They make their grand escape as they travel in search of Pops. Moments later, they break into a Normandy research center where Pops and a group of scientists are being held, rescue Pops as his house gets absolutely decimated, hijack a biplane, and make their grand getaway. This is just a great example of how this movie isn't afraid to be downright silly with its rules, while at the same time delivering a legitimately exciting and humorous narrative development. Though, I do find it a bit odd why Pops doesn't react harder to his logic-defying, undeniably brilliant house being destroyed. Like, I would be devastated. There is so much valuable and sentimental shit that's just fucking gone now. But he's just like, oh no, my house. And that's it. It's one of my only criticisms of the film, but it doesn't really affect anything. It's more of a character writing nitpick. But I can forgive it on the basis that Pops confronts Julius in a very mature and restrained manner as to why he leaked all this information to the police. It's easily one of the best exchanges in the film because of how smooth Pops handles it. He's just immediately like, yeah, I know you did it, man. Why? I thought we were cool. And Julius immediately fesses up and doesn't try to hide it. He tries to rationalize that he would have been thrown in prison or killed if he didn't go through with it, but deep down he knows that this was wrong. This, of course, pisses off April, which creates a bit of a rift in their relationship, which is perfectly in character considering she was almost starting to let down her walls with Julius. It's just great character writing all around in this scene, and that kind of shit just rubs my brain in all the right ways. Oh, and in regards to this movie being outlandish in its narrative turns, it's revealed that Gustav's talking lizards at the beginning grew into mech suit wearing super geniuses that were actually the ones capturing the world's greatest scientists, which is actually fucking hilarious. Oh, and they're the ones voiced by Simmons and Sarandon. Just amazing. Needless to say, they are a really amusing part of the movie, and again, I know I'm repeating myself, but this is another great example of how much fun this goddamn movie is. The plan with the scientists is to use the Franklin family ultimate serum to make their rocket of jungle spores invincible against the vacuum of space and spread life to other worlds. But what's really interesting is that Annette, April's mom, is actually all for this plan of the lizard mechs, while Paul has been confined to prison for refusing to comply with any of their demands. And the conversations they have are really nuanced, civil even though they strongly disagree with each other, and treated with a sense of tact and grace. I don't know, I just really like it when characters are written as intelligent, respectful human beings and not mouthpieces for the writer. Cough cough Kurtzman, cough cough Chibnall, cough cough. Anyway, getting back on track, Chimen's plan is soon thwarted by Rodrigue, who just wants to destroy mankind and rule the world with his lizard sons and daughters. But don't worry, before Rodrigue's plan can go into effect, Darwin, the talking cat, saves the day! I'm not even joking, Darwin directs the rocket to its original course and saves the fucking world. cats. And this leads to my second favorite scene of the film, the last 2 minutes, which I know sounds condescending, but I'm not trying to be. I love this ending. It focuses on a TV in a quaint, humble home summarizing the historical and technological accomplishments of each decade leading up to 2001, where we finally landed on the moon, which is covered in vegetation, by the way. And not only is this an incredibly charming and wholesome note to end the film on, but what's great about it is it's not all a happy ending. There are some definite flaws that come with the New World Order, one of them being April's failure to make her ultimate immunity serum compatible with the human body, very similar to how Gustav was unable to perfect his serum. But despite that, this is still an incredibly optimistic message about humanity, because the setbacks and limitations we have now will be conquered by future generations, and not because we place responsibility on them to do so, but simply because, as humans, we will find ways to persevere no matter what. Gustav couldn't figure out the secret formula, but his grandchildren and great-granddaughter did. April couldn't make the serum compatible with humans, but her children and grandchildren very well might. No matter what, humans will strive to succeed, to survive, and to fight for what we believe in, simply because we were granted this time on Earth to explore our full potential. And we all have that spark in us. It's a wonderfully healthy and encouraging message from a rather unassuming film. And this is why I ultimately think this film needs to be appreciated more. It celebrates the best of humanity without being schmaltzy or cliched or on the nose. The movie treats humans like smart, critically thinking individuals, and implies the notion time and time again that yes, we can create a better world. As foolish and naive as it may seem, our creativity, ingenuity, intellect, and problem-solving will ultimately prove victorious in the ongoing battle for a better world. And any film with a message like that is more than worthy of praise in my books. It just so happens that the rest of the movie is kick-ass as well. This film is available for purchase and rent on YouTube, link in the description. I know paying for shit sucks, but if any movie deserves it, it's this. And you know, that's kinda it. I don't really have a big send-off or poignant phrase to end this whole thing on. Well, I guess I could say, it's extraordinary. Thanks for watching, and always remember, don't die unexpectedly.